So, hello and welcome to this episode of Aim High Awesome Leaders. I am your host for this podcast, Camilla Haisler. And today on this podcast, I'm going to be teaching you to pitch like a pro. This episode is going to be all about sales pitches and the best ways that you can approach the sales pitch. Now, in terms of sales pitches and my experience, I have worked in sales for over 14 years successfully, selling to hundreds of different businesses and generating significant amounts in revenue for the businesses that I have worked for. And I would say that the pitch and the ability that you develop in sales to be able to explain what you do, but more importantly, how it relates to those that are asking and interested in how it can add value to them is a crucial thing today, particularly where today we have less and less time directly in front of buyers, and we may have less time to really establish the value of our solution and its relevance as well. So the perfect elevator pitch is something that takes a little bit of practice and time to really cultivate, depending on your offering, your business, and of course, what you're looking to achieve with your elevator pitch. But to take everyone back to step one and the context here, the elevator pitch is really designed to position the value and the relevance of your business and what you do to those you meet and speak with who are new contacts and new business. Now, in terms of the importance of this, why is it an elevator pitch? Well, of course, it was called the elevator pitch originally because it was something that for, the opportunity to get in front of a busy executive was in an elevator, potentially on your way or from the office. So again, elevators and the elevator pitch came about partly as a result of the difficulty to get in front of and get time with buyers in the 60s. So this is not a new phenomenon. This is not a new problem that sellers face today. But of course, today we need also to cultivate and develop this skill in order to develop ourselves and, of course, get to a next step. So first of all, in terms of the pitch and some of my key recommendations. So first of all, think about condensing and reducing what the result is that you can offer and bring. Now, the result and the benefit is always going to be specific to your product and offering. And this sales pitch and the elevator pitch needs to be the most reduced version that you have of not just an introduction, but importantly, an key explanation, a key kind of positioning around what is called the value proposition. And I think that in terms of why you and why you're for and in terms of this, so the why you and highlighting your solution and your unique selling proposition is also something that in an elevator pitch needs to come across. Because if we think about it, if a buyer is due to see 10 different salespeople that day or that week, again, it's the why remember you, why come back to your business, your pitch, and the opportunity to do business with you. So why is an elevator pitch effective even in today's world? Well, an elevator pitch is effective because today buyers are bombarded by digital, social media, and other distractions and information. And so if we think about it, the needle in the haystack is the situation where we are justifying why a buyer needs to potentially see the potential in our offering, see the value in a very rapid time frame. So credibility is also something crucial to an elevator pitch. If a pitch relates to generic offerings, company info, or team members, again, that is going to be a waste. Also, if a pitch is too practical, if a pitch is literally what it is, the what, that isn't necessarily compelling to a buyer. So again, it's a potential massive value add to make your elevator pitch memorable. And how can you do this? You can think of something noteworthy from your business, your career, your offering, something amusing or entertaining, something perhaps a famous or well-known customer that you had. It could be literally anything at all. But again, making your pitch memorable is going to be worthwhile because, again, today there could be multiple pitches that your buyer is going to hear in the same day, in a short frame of time. So again, they need to ideally remember something important about you, your offering, your company. And so the aim of the pitch and the elevator pitch is, of course, for you to build connections. And these are genuine, meaningful business connections and potentially could lead to referrals. So again, it's important to note that we're not expecting that every single contact that we speak with is going to look to buy from us. But of course, every connection knows multiple people today, and every connection may know someone who knows someone who could be an ideal client for you. So this is also the importance of not undervaluing the potential of every person who you meet to, again, to have some kind of transformation, some kind of results from your business. And in terms of so what can the elevator pitch be useful for? Well, it can be really, really useful for brand new connections and contacts. So ideally, people who you are meeting, who you didn't know necessarily that you would be speaking with. Those types of contacts and connections are going to be really important. And if we think about it, the pitch is verbal. It's the voice. The pitch is the expressiveness. It's how we articulate. And this is something that I teach on in sales coaching a lot, which is, the value and the potential of articulation is huge. The language we use, the specific words, etc. And so there will be levers and ways to enhance your sales pitch. And what's important is that you know and get clear on exactly what are the key things that you will include in your sales pitch. And then also thinking as well how important it is not to merge an introduction with a sales pitch and even a half sales pitch. This is something, again, that can really come across. If you are doing your elevator pitch, commit to doing your elevator pitch, can commit to delivering it fully. Again, something that can happen is that people will have a stock phrase, a stock way of doing an introduction and a little bit of a pitch. And again, it possibly gets lost. And again, it can often be the case that we're relying on a pitch phrase, which actually, when we really think about it, isn't necessarily that effective. And that if we really paid attention to what those new connections do after we deliver our pitch line or phrase, we might notice that they are checking out, they are moving on, and the conversation that we have is, again, not necessarily value add. And it's our time. If we are connecting with people socially, we need to ensure that we are making meaningful connections and building contacts that we can go back to. Because again, if we go to an event, we speak with multiple people, but we don't actually connect, it's a use of our time, which again is not necessarily valuable, and it's also where prospects who we may be able to help or who may know people that we can help are left without a clear sense of the value and the understanding of what we do. And again, today, if we think about it like a sorting device, the buyer's brain has almost like a filing system for key information. So if we imagine that a buyer is speaking with 10 people, who's the buyer going to put in the useful and important drawer? And who is the buyer putting in the do not contact drawer? And who is the buyer putting in the no drawer at all? Because they don't know where that business or that contact belongs. So again, if we come across as too corporate, too generic, using perhaps one phrase that our company has, again, we could be losing the opportunity to really get our introduction across and our pitch, elevator pitch, really, really good. And here's something important as well. What are elevator pitches not? So an elevator pitch is designed to be direct and informative. It is key phrases and details in terms of specifically the result you bring, the value, something memorable about you or your business. It's how you solve and what you do differently, or what you can do different to many. And then, of course, it's important information such as credibility and other key details around your offering and company and you. And in terms of maybe it's an interesting and curiosity sparking elevator pitch. Can it somehow hold the attention of a buyer in a busy room? These are some of the things for us to think about. In terms of an icebreaker, does it build rapport? Does it somehow break through the lens of surface level connections and generic interactions that may be going on, where people at an event might feel compelled to interact to a limited extent? And that's also important, that we're getting through the resistance that a buyer may have. And then, of course, we're really building rapport. We're building rapport from the foundation and with our audience, that we are establishing a great connection and that we're sharing information about our business to a certain extent that resonates, that they can relate to, that they are clear on, and that gives them perhaps actionable examples about how our solution comes into play. Again, they do not need to have used or worked with us in the past, used our solution, but if they have a clear association, that's important too. So what are the reference points that you can direct them to again, more rapidly establish a familiarization and an understanding? So an elevator pitch needs to go beyond the transactional. It needs to go beyond the surface. It needs to be about what the value is for our buyer. And of course, creating a sense of connection and understanding in the mind of the buyer. Because of course, we're very close to what we do. But for someone who does not know what we do, again, how do they relate to it? Now, some of the things that sales pitches are not designed to be are a literal sales pitch with just the intention to sell, close, make a sale in delivery. The idea is to intrigue and interest your buyer so that the conversation progresses. However, it is not the intention to directly convert your buyer in that elevator pitch, but it is about of course, interesting them to the point where they want to know more and their next steps. So again, we are not delivering a monologue, we are in a dialogue. And so the elevator pitch needs to be short and concise, to the point. And if our elevator pitch is really working well, then our buyer will ask for next steps and will ask for more information and will ask questions. That is a great indication that your elevator pitch is working. And of course, it's important for us to remember that the elevator pitch is not just about us and who we are, who we work for, the literal information. It's about connecting with a buyer, another organization, in a way where they feel like they want to know more and that they are interested and that they have better understanding of what you do. And of course, this is part of building rapport, because the more we know others, the more we get to know them, the better. And again, in terms of how we can think about the elevator pitch, it is the fishing line, the hook, of course, creating a strong opening to our elevator pitch, something catchy, something that really sparks interest and listening. That's great. And then we're just simply casting that fishing line across and letting the other contact express interest, ask questions, find out more. And then, of course, we're finding out more about them. But the elevator pitch is an art. So for all of you watching online, for all of those listening via Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I'd like to thank you for listening to the Aim High Awesome Leaders podcast. You and your support are, again, the reason for doing this podcast. And this has been a sales leadership podcast episode for you to develop and make your sales pitches more effective so that you can generate more success. And if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a quick rating of this episode and share it with a friend. Because again, the more people that you let know about this podcast. It is all based on word of mouth and referral. So if you have a moment, that would be amazing. And thank you all so much. And I will see you on Aim High Awesome Leaders for another episode soon.